have 4 members here this evening with us. Item number 1 on our agenda is the oath of office for the new board members. We have Clifton, Augustine, and Craig, who may or may not show up or be here, I guess. So with that, I'll turn the time over to the city recorder, Tangi Sloan.
Thank you. First I'd like to say Mayor Burton was unable to make it tonight. He had a family situation come up where he couldn't make it, so he wanted me to send his apologies. We'll continue with the oath of office. Let's do Clifton first. Clifton Smith. Yep, if you want to come up, I'll have you stand on the side. And I'll have you raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Clifton Smith,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I'll support, obey, and defend
that I'll support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah
and the Constitution of the State of Utah
and the laws and ordinances of the City of West Jordan,
and the laws and ordinances of the City of West Jordan,
and that I'll discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I'll discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'll just have you sign this real quick. There's 2 copies here. One for you, one for me. Sign there.
Thank you.
Is it Augustine? Augustine, sorry. Come on up. All right, I'll have you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Augustine Avalos,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I'll support, obey, and defend
that I'll support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the laws and ordinances of the City of West Jordan,
the laws and ordinances of the City of West Jordan,
and that I'll discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I'll discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Great, thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll just have you sign here. One for you, one for me. Julie, would you like me to hang around for just a minute and see if Craig Heath? Okay. I'll turn the time back over to you.
Thank you. Item 2 on our agenda this evening is first off, congratulations. Welcome to the new board members. We'll get started with our second item, I guess. Approval of the minutes from February 8th. Did anyone go ahead?
Oh, I'll make a motion to pass them.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right. Item 3 on our agenda this evening is training that's going to be provided by our Senior Assistant City Attorney, Jared Tingey. So with that, I'll turn the time over to him.
So give me 1 second, Jared.
Oh.
So before Jared starts, the new, or any one of the Board of Adjustment, if you want an orientation to Jared's going to go over an Open and Public Meetings Act, which as required for all public bodies, planning commission, board of adjustment, city council, every yearly, they have to go through that, and he'll go through that. But if any of you want an orientation to the powers and duties of the board of adjustment, I'm willing to sit down with you. I think either Jared or Duncan, one of our other attorneys, will be happy to go over that with you. We have materials we can give you. The problem with the Board of Adjustment is you're an appeal body, and so the applications can be sparse, or you can get a lot of them. And so we're not, if we do get an application, we will probably meet before the meeting to provide a refresher on what you're going over that night, but we're always available for an orientation of your duties as board members. And if you want to do that, just get a hold of Julie and she'll set up times with us. That we're in public works right now, but we'll be transitioning back to City Hall in a year or so. But we're happy to do that anytime. And so, Jared, there you go.
So yeah, and I would be happy to meet virtually as well. However works for you guys. So, like Larry said, we have to do a training on the Open and Public Meetings Act once a year annually. And as I left my house today, my wife asked me, "So why are you going down to the city hall?" And I said, "Well, got a training I'm doing." And she said, "What is it on?" And I said, "It's the Open and Public Meetings Act." And she said, "Oh, it sounds really thrilling." And she said, "You better insert some jokes into your into your presentation." I said, "Okay." So we'll see what I can do, but it's hard to dress up law is law, and if you're not an attorney, the law is still boring. So this is the best I could find. Rob Wall, the city attorney, helped me do this. So why are we even doing a training? Pretty much the reason is because it's required. And it is important that you know what's important with the Open and Public Meetings Act, because a violation can be actually criminal. So it is important. It's just dry. So essentially, the goal behind the Open and Public Meetings Act is for transparency and openness. And it's so that the public knows what's going on with the public business. And we can, I'll get into a little bit more kind of what bodies are bound by the Open and Public Meetings Act, but the courts have construed any of these provisions as broadly as they can so that transparency is at its maximum. So I want to go over just these four items, because these kind of set the base of what the Open and Public Meetings Act is. Essentially, as you'll see at the top, a meeting is open to the public unless it's closed. And so there's about 8 to 11 exceptions that you can have a closed meeting. For the Board of Adjustment, I can't see any of those exceptions, maybe pending litigation in some sort and fashion, but that would be a very rare case where you would have a closed meeting. And so pretty much every meeting that you have will be an open meeting. Now, what constitutes an open meeting is where a public body has met. In other words, a quorum, which is a simple majority, has met together and discussed public business and or received comments. As you'll see in the definitions meeting, said meeting means the convening of a public body with a quorum present, in person or electronic, and where you're discussing, receiving comments about the public business. And so anytime you meet in that fashion, you are acting as a public body. So the question then is what happens if all four of you are found in an event, and then what? Does one of you need to leave and say, well, you're kicked off the team and you need to go home because we're staying here? That's not the case. Convening doesn't take into account a chance meeting. So if you're at an event of some sort, that's okay. So long as you're not gathering together and talking about the business of West Jordan, what you normally would, or hey, let's vote this way, let's do it this way, and this is how I'm going to vote. And if there's four of you talking, because there's 7 members, then that would be a simple majority. You would be talking about public business, and you would be a public body. And so you wouldn't be able to be discussing those things outside of an open meeting where it's open to the public. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, Jared, I have a question just for clarification. If you can define how many of us are on the Board of Adjustment and how many is considered a quorum.
Did I misstate?
5 plus an alternate.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha. So it's 3. Thank you. So it's just 3. So the notices that are sent out, Julie sends out notices. Just quickly, there just needs to be a 24-hour notice that includes the agenda, the date, the time, the place, and it's posted in principal office. Where do you post it, Julie?
So I put it outside of this meeting room because we're meeting here.
Right.
I also put it at the Public Works building, and it's on our website and on the state noticing website as well.
Perfect. So, and you'll see there that we also provide notice to at least one newspaper or media correspondent, but that's satisfied naturally, pretty easy with the public notice website. So when you list, or when Julie lists the items that come before the board, the topics have to be reasonably specific to let the public know exactly what topics are going to be discussed at that meeting. If it's just, Board of Adjustment topics or Board of Adjustment variance application, that doesn't give enough specificity to know whether someone that it would affect should come to the meeting and talk about it and give their comments about it. So that's or listen. So that's kind of the what has to be on the agenda. I don't see it happening here, but it very well may, where a topic is raised by the public or by the applicant that's not on the agenda. Typically, anything that's brought up by the public can be discussed, but there can't be a final vote on any outside topic that's discussed that's not on the agenda for a final vote. And so one thing to consider too is that if on the agenda it just says discussing this variance with when it doesn't say, hey, we may make a decision on this variance or this appeal, then we need to have that on the agenda to show that, hey, a decision may be made here. We're not just discussing, generally speaking, this variance. Yeah.
Do applications current or usually go more than one meeting with Board of Adjustments? Is it typical to discuss it 1 month and then not vote?
Yeah, very seldom, usually the Board of Adjustment, when you get an application, we'll give you enough information as staff. You always have a staff report, and you'll have enough information that we believe that you can make a decision that night. It would be very unusual for, maybe, I'm not saying, I'm not ruling it out. Maybe there could be a complicated issue that would require, for it to be brought back to another meeting. But in my career, 99% of them can usually be decided at the meeting, because the decision you're making is so narrow that it's not that broad. It's either an appeal to something either staff or planning commission's done, or it's a variance request to the ordinance, and those are pretty cut and dried. You have to satisfy the criteria, and we'll go into that into some future meeting. But generally, they're all, by application on the agenda for a decision that evening. So,
one of the things to consider is that the city staff usually has what is called pre-meetings, and those pre-meetings are for your benefit to better understand the facts of what will be coming before you. In those pre-meetings, it's very important to be careful on not taking any action that would qualify as a vote. In other words, if staff is presenting, saying, this is what you'll hear tonight, these are the facts, and ideally that all would happen within the meeting that's been advertised for that applicant. And any questions that you have would go toward the applicant during the meeting, or to the city if you've got questions for Larry. And so ideally, all of those questions would be handled within the meeting when the applicant is presenting. And so in these pre-meetings that you have, just be cognizant of that you're not making any decision. You're not making any vote. Now, the question I've got here is, what is then the meaning of a vote? What if I asked, or someone on the board asked, does anyone object? And there's silence. Is that a vote or not a vote? How does everyone like it? Up or down? Is that a vote? What about, and we can, there's what about a wink, right? Yeah. Or, pretty much anything, if you really come down to it, could be defined as knowing how you are wanting to vote on the item. So, of course, you can't, unless you put a paper bag over your face and hold you down and hold you still, you're not, it's almost impossible, right? So just be aware of that. And that's the only thing that I wanted to bring up on that is, if you're in this pre-meeting, just be careful that that you are aware that, hey, we're not going to be making a vote, and that the facts of that you're only discussing the facts of what's going on, not necessarily, okay, does this meet one of the criteria? Let me ask questions on how does this interact with the code? those are really questions that should be asked within the actual meeting, not the pre-meeting.
So it seems like a lot of this is just geared toward letting the public have their say and input prior to anything being decided.
Really, it just allows the public to be aware of what's going on versus we're going to do it backdoor. We've already decided with that first comic, we've already decided, we've already talked about it. We already know what we're going to do. And everyone in favor, aye. And then the public goes, well, how did you get to that point? And so I guess this also goes back to when you are going through the criteria, and we'll go through the criteria, like Larry said in another training, but there's criteria that you'll look for. And in making those findings of those 5 criteria, it's important for you to articulate in your discussion, in your voting, that this is how I see it. This is why I'm voting the way I'm voting, so that it's clear on the minutes and on also the recording that if it were ever appealed, they know exactly how and why you voted, how you got to that point. And that's not even necessarily important for the Open and Public Meetings Act, but that's actually more important for any appeal that goes above, that goes beyond the Board of Adjustment. If there's some sort of challenge that goes beyond and up to an appellate court or on and on, that they can look down at the findings that you made as a Board of Adjustment and go, okay, this is how they found. Was this based on, can we reasonably see that this was based on the criteria versus, no, they talked about it out. It's very clear they talked about it and they'd already decided before they came. So that's why it's important that when you do make findings, when you do determine and say, yeah, I agree that criteria, they meet that criteria, that it's not just yeah, I think they made it. Because really, it's always better to explain, this is why I think they meet this criteria. Or you may disagree with one of the board members and say, I see what they're saying, but this is how I see it. So I would say that they don't meet it. And that's going to be my vote. So, Bill.
Question I have, is the public welcome or invited to the pre-meeting too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, they are. And it's just as much as a public meeting as the meeting with the applicant. So it is, when we do have it, the notice goes out and the pre-meeting is at the top of the notice. So it does say pre-meeting at the top at 5:30 or something like that, usually.
So is the pre-meeting basically right before the actual meeting?
Yeah,
How much time?
it's usually 30 minutes.
So would it be 30 minutes that the board would have to familiarize themselves with the appeal?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, you'll always get a staff report. And the staff report will contain all the information about, what the application is and how staff feels that it satisfies the criteria of either the variance, either the test for hardship, or if it's an appeal, what the appeal is from, who is it an appeal
We'll
because
get
someone
that
was
before
agreed
the
by
pre-meeting.
staff or planning commission. So you get that staff report. So the pre-meeting,
About a week in advance.
yeah, about a week in advance. So the pre-meeting is really to clarify with staff your role and what you're doing that night and what the facts are of the particular application. so it's helpful if you read the staff report, because then that should give you enough basis to make a decision. But the pre-meeting's always to answer any lingering questions you might have about your role, or concerns with the staff report or concerns with the application. That's what the purpose of the pre-meeting is for.
And the applicant is present at the pre-meeting.
Yeah, they can be. Generally, they don't always come, but
Yeah.
they're always welcome. So.
So this is the law on electronic message transmissions. Again, going back to Board Member Smith's, the when would it be in violation of sending texts back and forth? Hey, how are you going to vote? I'm going to vote this way. Okay, I'll vote with you. So there can't be electronic message transmissions during the meeting with other members of the public body when there's that open meeting that's already been convened, and you're just, why don't you vote this way, I'll vote this way. There can't be any text messages or emails flying back and forth during the meeting. I'm going to skip over that. The Open Meetings Act is essentially the bottom level of legal behavior that we're required to abide by. But it's important to know that although you may be abiding by the strictness of the law, there's a lot of times, and these are just titles of some of the things that the media has come out with. City emails violate Utah open meetings law. Well, that's what they say, but did they really? You've got email and a potential open meeting violation. AG finds Oregon official violated open meetings law with email. The school district faces lawsuit over alleged Open Meetings Act violation. And then these, you can see different ones: Deseret News, Fox 13, again, Deseret News. Whether or not it's legal under the Open Meetings Act, it's always a good question to ask. Would this end up in the newspaper? Would the media have a problem with the optics of what's going on? And if you think they do, then it's important that you speak up and say, no, let's get with the attorney's office and see what, get advice there, or talk to the city staff and say, can we make this more, let's kick this back another month so that we can notice it to, whatever that may be. That's up to you guys, but optics are important when you're talking about Open Public Meetings Act. Any questions?
One question. The notice, is it a 30-day notice of a meeting?
The 24-hour notice is what's required, but they give a week notice, right? I don't know
As
what
soon
you
as I
do.
know, sometimes it's up to 2 weeks. We try to do it. It's like 10 days is when we would mail a notice to the residents. If there was an application, it's a 100-foot radius of the subject property. They would get something mailed to them 10 days. That's what we shoot for, but it's usually gives them at least a week to get online and see the staff report and call us if they have any questions or.
So it's actually giving them a long time in advance to be able to say, okay, I want to be at that meeting. I need to clear my schedule, versus 24 hours in advance. I don't know that I could do that. Oh, I wish I could be there, but I've got this function, I'm going to be at my daughter's soccer game or whatever. I can't make it. So I think it's great that, it's out early enough for them. This is the minutes. I think the most important thing on this slide is, in my mind, that relates to each of you, is the very bottom. Approved minutes of an open meeting are the official record of the meeting. So when you're looking at minutes and you're approving minutes, it's important to look at those minutes to see whether they accurately state what you stated and what you felt others stated as well. And if there's an issue, then that needs to be brought up. Usually it's usually nothing. I don't know. You probably haven't ever had anything not. Maybe you have. I don't know.
Well, sometimes I might put a wrong person's name that I was, confused or whatever, and that's been fixed. If it's a spelling error or something like that, and I don't think this matters, I would prefer they just let me know and then I fix it, because it's not changing what the minutes actually are
Yeah.
saying. So if it's,
That's fine. So it doesn't happen too often, but it is important to read those, because especially on an actual application and the findings, those minutes are going to be used as the record for what happened in the meeting later on appeal, if they appeal some sort of decision that the Board of Adjustment made. So it is important, very important, that when there is an application or an appeal, that you look over those and see if you, because when I've never had to do it myself of writing minutes, but I can tell you that she's not going to be writing word for word what is said, nor would we expect anyone to do that. But if there's something that you said that you think you'd like to be in the minutes, then you can say this needs to be in. This is what I said. I'd like this in the minutes.
Oh.
You left.
take it.
What if, for instance, you left something out and you wanted to add it later?
You
Can't do it.
It's my understanding you can't add to the minutes. You can clarify things and you can't really take things out. But
You could make a clarification
Yeah.
in the minutes that would give a better understanding of what your decision.
Well, you
if
can't.
it's something that you didn't say, so
Right.
like if somebody said, I really think I said this, then I'll go back and listen to it if I'm not certain that really happened.
You
So
can't just
are we
start.
reviewing the minutes before they're approved? Is that what you're saying? That
Yes,
we can't go back?
so, right. Well, you can't add things that didn't actually happen in the meeting,
Right, but if it did happen and we say, oh, you missed
Right.
this,
Or
you
you
can go
could
back
say,
and edit that.
because a lot of it's just summarized. So, but like he was saying, if you felt strongly about, I really want what I said specifically to be in there, if that's really what happened, then we could put it in there before the minutes are approved, right?
Yes.
No, it sounds like Julie's been doing this for years, so we'll be okay.
Too long, actually.
Well,
Too long.
and the reason they're so summarized is because we as humans do a lot of thinking out loud, and we get to roundabout ways. Like I'm talking right now, I'm getting to a roundabout point that I'm trying to make. And the point is, you want the minutes to be clear and concise, and how you arrived at the decision, like Jared said, and what the path to get to that decision was. Now, a level of and so they're really consistent. They're really clear on what you were saying, but it's not verbatim word for word. Now, if you feel comfort, we keep a recording of your voice in perpetuity. So in 200 years, we'll still have a recording of that if humankind still exists upon this earth. And so, everything you do in this public meeting is always recorded. I remember the old days when we used to do it on cassette tapes. I don't know whatever happened to all those cassette tapes, but yeah. And so, but now, it's done electronically through YouTube and it's digitally done. And so It's leased as kept for many, many years, you know, and as Jared said, the official written document, that's the record of the meeting. Now, as the meeting gets farther in the past, it becomes less relevant because the appeal time expires, and you know your decision was relevant, but it's for that present time. And so, you know, are the decisions we make here going to be epic? Probably not. But you know, it is very important for that applicant when they're coming to have an accurate and to follow that path to a decision. So it's very important to them at that point because you are making important decisions. Is it going to change the trajectory of the city? Probably not, but it will change the trajectory of that one person's life. So that's the importance of it. So.
Well, I'm sure that Julie is well trained to listen to things that need to be in the minutes as opposed to like, oh, you know, Jared made a joke. She's not going to be included. I'm sure she knows that.
Come on, Julie. That was good, right? All right. I think I beat the dead horse there. Just so you're aware, on the auditor's website, there are various trainings, and one of them is the Open Public Meetings Act. They have you go through, it's like 7 minutes, and then you have to pass a test, 5 questions, and you've got to get 80% to get a certificate. And I'll show you the certificate. It's pretty special. You can post it on the wall and frame it. So I just wanted to run through some of the questions that they asked. I just did screenshots here and then we'll be done. But when a public body quorum meets to discuss or act upon government business, it is considered a public meeting. True. Within 3, let's see, and this one I didn't go over. Within 3 business days after approving written minutes of an open meeting, make approved minutes and any public materials available at, and then these 3, and that is true. But it's only after the final minutes are approved. The pending minutes can be a long time. It can be pending for quite some time. If I remember, it just says a reasonable amount of time before you get to the final. Usually the next meeting. So if a new topic not on the agenda is raised by the public during an open meeting, the governing body may discuss the topic. However, final action may not be taken on the new topic during that meeting. True. Oh, sorry. What was your answer? True. Okay. A recording must be a complete and unedited record of all open portions of the meeting from beginning to end and be labeled with the meeting date, time, and place.
That is false. We need to exclude Jared's jokes.
I like that. That is true. A majority of governing board members attend the same church and may be in the same room at the same time. What should they do?
It's D, but A is awesome.
Have someone govern find it. Go to a different church. Okay. I can't ever see this happening in Utah, but nothing. This falls within the chance or social media exception. Public meeting pending minutes, approved minutes, and recordings are not public records under GRAMA, which is the Government Records Access and Management Act. Any guesses?
False. That's false.
That's false. Yeah, they are public. Public records are public. Go figure. Regular open and public meetings require 24 hours notice. The public notice includes the meeting agenda, date, time, and place, and then it's posted in these 2 places.
That is true. And you mentioned that for number 2, if you need to make it available to the media, they get it from that website.
Yeah, yeah. And that is the handy dandy certificate of completion. And it even has some stars. It
Congratulations,
makes
Jared.
me feel really good there. So, and that is it. So you can check that off your list and
So Jared, does the
Got that.
board need to get on that website and do this training, or is
No.
that not required?
that is not required.
We just did it together, huh, Jared?
We're
You
just
can-
under Jared's
well,
umbrella.
like I said, that certificate is only to make you feel good. Like that, if you want a certificate, say, honey, I passed.
I want that certificate. That's a nice one.
They have a bunch of other things that you can learn that are completely irrelevant to the Board of Adjustment, but you could be a city council member, so you never know. It would be helpful there on when you need a public hearing or when you don't. So
Maybe trying to go out a family party. I've got That's true.
yeah,
Thank you, Jared. Moving right along, the next thing on our agenda is I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
We have a first,
I'll second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.